Welcome to Taking Healthy Back with Maria, with your host, Maria Malec, experience coach, conscience educator, and destination retreat host, presents to you countless ways to overcome an overwhelmed, overprocessed, and overmedicated lifestyle. She'll be covering everything wellness, from getting more from life than you put into it, destination retreats to healthy cooking and conscious education. So please welcome the host of Taking Healthy Back with Maria.
Welcome and happy Friday, Wellness Seekers. Today's show, as all the shows I believe are exciting and special, today is Boom to Bloom, Elevate Your Wellness at Sonic Speed. And Taking Healthy Back is not just about recovering from things that make you uncomfortable in life. Really, what I have noticed is people don't really seek to be healthy. What they're seeking is to avoid sickness or overcome sickness. And that's where I come in. That's where my guest today comes in. Her name is Falyn Morningstar, such a beautiful name. And let me just read from her bio. Her approach to health and wellness is distinctively unconventional, blending her proficiency in somatic practices, which we've talked about on the show before, meditation, and sonic therapies, courtesy of listening to smile. I can't wait to hear about that. With a focus on movement, nutrition, and laboratory testing. Welcome, Falyn. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Maria. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's start with, what is a functional health practitioner? That's a mouthful.
But it is a mouthful. So to be honest, the full terminology is functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and that is even more of a mouthful. So we typically call ourselves FDNPs, and some are like, well, what does that mean? So it's a great question to start off with. And really, we are looking at the entire body as one complex system that works together. Certainly we could call that holistic, but it's, our digestive system is connected with our mental health and vice versa. And like viruses are in the mix, and hormones, and, trauma is even a story in there too. So we are looking at the whole system and how it connects and communicates with the other parts of us.
All right. That's beautiful. I, for years and years, have been talking about, whole health wellness is all the pieces. And I'm sure you have a story to how you got into this and why it is an important mission of yours.
Yeah, I felt like we could probably take the rest of this call to explain the story, but short Cliff Notes version is about at age 26, I was dealing with a lot of health symptoms, some of those being an irregular menstrual cycle. I had very poor muscle recovery, and sometimes I'd be lightheaded with walking. I'd have a wired and tired feeling at night, very trouble with sleeping, chronically fatigued, bloating, emotional eating. So 7 of them I just named off. And so it just continued to compound until it was the point where the muscles were not recovering, because I was training in kind of the powerlifting, bodybuilding scene at that time. But I was also going to graduate school. I was working full time in local government. And so it was just a lot of stress on my body. And at the time, I really didn't have any language around holistic health or anything that I should be asking the doctors for. I basically just said, I think something is going on with my hormones. Here's a list of my symptoms. Can you help me? And unfortunately, they didn't really guide me in the direction that I was hoping for, because on the outside, on the surface, I was a 26-year-old, on their terms, healthy woman, and I looked fine, right? And so, unfortunately, I didn't feel fine. I shifted from my family physician to the gynecologist, and I was, again, explained my symptoms. I was hoping to get some sort of full comprehensive hormone test or something, right? Besides like a basic, like metabolic blood panel or a CBC. Like they did run those and everything came up to be normal, as a lot of us hear. But it had to go much deeper than that. And thankfully, I knew somebody in the functional health space. And that just opened my mind up to, oh my gosh, like I should be really taking this in. And I loved it so much. I became a practitioner with the company Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. So I run lab tests on clients to help uncover those hidden stressors. So things like the full hormone panel, like for example, the Dutch test we use a lot. We use a stool test, full thyroid panels, and organic acids, anything that can help us see more of what's going inside instead of us trying to guess and check things. So with that support of the tests, we coach holistically to shift some diet, talk about our rest hygiene, what exercise we're doing, stress reduction techniques. And that's what we'll get into, like the meditation and the sonic and the somatic, and then natural supplementation to help fill in those gaps where we need to.
Okay, so there's a couple questions from that I have for you. Typically, when people think of hormones, they're just thinking of like, I'm thinking like reproductive, or with women, their cycles and stuff like that. But don't hormones dictate a lot of or most functions in our body?
Yes. So I'll refer to a test example here. So the Dutch test is an extremely comprehensive urine analysis where it's looking at several markers of estrogen, estradiol, estrone. There's testosterone. There's even melatonin, right? Our sleep hormone. There's different metabolites that help us uncover how it's being used in the body. So there's metabolized cortisol in there. But I think what's very unique in this hormone panel is that there are neuro-related markers in there. So we're looking at dopamine, we're looking at norepinephrine, we're even looking at nutrients, several B vitamins in there too, and some gut markers. Right. So it's beautifully laid out and very comprehensive to exemplify how hormones are related to gut health, mental health, and how it's not just I'm having a regular menstrual cycle. Like, let's look at my hormones. Well, we have to look at kind of the whole picture.
Sure. So are hormones messengers, or do hormones do things? Is that a valid question?
Yeah, I think it can be both. I think that there's such a thing as called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, HPA axis. Yeah, and so when there's kind of we call it like metabolic chaos in the FDN community, because we don't really diagnose or treat anything. It's kind of just one umbrella to help us, so to help us give direction and to heal. So I think hormones can, certainly they help our nervous system, right? It helps us not feel anxious. It helps our digestion and certainly our energy, obviously. It helps us build muscle. So I think how the gut and the hormones work together, it's kind of like we're starting from here hormonally, and then we're going down and providing energy, or like the energy is helping us produce more hormones. So the adrenal glands are tied into that too, because certainly they produce their own hormonal, different hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. But I think that it's kind of how can the hormones support us, but also how can we support the hormones? So it's kind of like a shifting back and forth.
Sure, a back and forth. And what I like to share with people is that our symptoms are just signals to what needs attention. It doesn't mean it's broken. It just means that it's not working as optimal as it could. And why I'm not a proponent for, prescribed medication, because it could just be a little tweaking of our behavior or our diet or even our thinking. Does that sound accurate?
Absolutely. I think that's spot on. And it's almost like symptoms are never our root cause. It's always much deeper. It's kind of like symptoms are really the last thing that comes
Right,
up
right.
for us, which is great news for us to recognize. But it's almost like I think we always have to go a little bit more deep, right? If we're having migraines and maybe we remove a particular food and we don't have migraines anymore, that's amazing. But say maybe something else might manifest, like it kind of might shift down into another messenger, if you will, that comes out to talk to us.
Right. And we might have to remove some people to stop getting those migraines. So the other thing that I was questioning is you talk about nutrition, but is nutrition always translated into food? What are other forms of nutrition that you are evaluating and then recommending?
So I think nutrition could definitely be expanded from the food category, because if we look at nutrition itself, we're considering the macronutrients, so our protein, fats, and carbs, but also we're considering those micronutrients that are very essential into helping our body be in a homeostasis type of, equal state. So I think that can be nutrition focused, and certainly natural supplements can add in some of the nutrients and minerals that maybe we're really burning through because we're extremely stressed, because certainly we burn through more some minerals when we're very stressed. But I think nutrition can certainly be expanded into how is your sleep nutrition, right? Like how is that environment to support your recovery and your detoxification pathways? And
Right.
something that I really love to point out to people is that, and I learned this from Paul Chek and the Chek Institute, was at the times of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., your body is really experiencing that physical repair through the day that you just had. And then 2 a.m. to about 6, it's the kind of like the mental cognition, the physiological repair that we must have. And also the detoxification really happens during those 2 and 6 a.m. hours. So like if we're cutting into either of those times on a consistent basis, or maybe we're working like night shifts, that is just kind of a recipe for that metabolic chaos that we started with. Like if you're doing that endless times, and I know that's probably part of the reason why I was having some of those symptoms at 26, because I was a person that would stay up later and get up earlier in a productive way. It wasn't like I was messing around. It was like I was trying to get my mindset right and do this and do that, right? So I think over time our body just is like, I
Right.
need that recovery now.
Well, and also, I honestly believe there really isn't a true balance, meaning that our body is always healing and adapting to our environment, to what we're consuming, in the news, what we're consuming with our food, what we're listening to, what we're scrolling through. So our body is always, in from what I understand, just always teetering on balance. Because if you're balanced, then it seems like everything is perfect, and I don't think there is ever a perfect state. Does that make
I agree with
sense?
you. It definitely does make sense. I think it's kind of like the light dark concept, or the good bad concept, right? There's always that like polarity and trying to find the balance, or like understand what I'm saying. So I think it's like when something does shift, it's almost like this second is gone, this second is gone, right? It continues like that. And I think we just
Right.
have to work with that present moment of like, what do I need right now? Maybe that is a nap, maybe that is food, maybe that is, something else.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of like really checking in with ourselves throughout
Yes.
the day. Yeah. And what we need.
Okay. We are going to pick that up when we get back from our break. That went really fast. So see you in a minute.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back. We are speaking with Falyn Morningstar today, and we're having a really interesting conversation about what she does with functional health practitioning. I know that's not the right way. And let me just ask you, are you like a doctor without having a doctor status, if you will? Because this sounds like really in-depth stuff that you're doing, and how you guys are evaluating people with these tests.
Yeah, I definitely have to be careful with my language here. So I'm definitely not a doctor, but I think we are considered practitioners, but really we're like health coaches that have the ability to order lab tests for people that can be drop shipped directly to their home. And we can do that because of the FDN company. They have what's called a medical director program that we can do that through. So there are doctors that are behind this type of clinical work. And I think as practitioners, it makes it really helpful for the client to have access to these types of tests. Yeah. It's extremely pivotal. I know in my own health, like I'd mentioned before the first break here, it was essential for me to have that validation on paper from the food sensitivity test, the hormone test, and the stool test, for me to say I'm not crazy in my mind here, something is going on, and I have it right here to provide me with some really helpful direction to heal while I'm making these lifestyle adjustments to my diet, to my rest, etc.
Right, that's key that you said lifestyle. But before we get into that, don't look at the pen. The testing that doctors do on a regular routine test, I'll call it, in my opinion, don't have enough biomarkers to give you an accurate look into your body. So like you said, you had tests done and said everything was normal, but it was deeper than that. So are the tests that you guys do have greater biomarkers to give a more accurate look into the body?
I would say so. They're much more comprehensive. Like I said, let's just take the stool test, for example. We're looking at if there's worms in there, fungus, yeast, parasites. There's an intestinal health marker, immune section. So it's different markers because obviously we know when our gut is inflamed, bloated, in pain, our mental state is not in a good place. And so I think it's kind of frustrating sometimes when I see people going and getting therapy or, having that route to help their mental health. I think that's beautiful and courageous for them to do that. But if they're not addressing their gut, it doesn't make sense to be spending the money or the time or the energy on that, right? Because we're negating like our second brain. I know we've heard our gut is like our second brain, and it's the absolute truth. So I think that even if you were going to a gastroenterologist for your gut concerns, they're not, in my knowledge, looking at these types of markers that are really impactful to just how you're functioning day to day. Like if you have irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have a high level of Helicobacter pylori, and let's just say you're really gassy on both ends, like that's a common symptom for that particular bacteria. So I don't think that doctors really know about these types of tests just because they're not taught that, because these tests are not covered by insurance, right? It's not under that system, of really trying to help people. And I'm not going to say like those tests that the doctors run, the standard blood workups, aren't helpful. I think any test is beautiful because it's that snapshot and that window of opportunity to see what's going on. But there's so much deeper things. And I'll mention this. So typically on a standard blood workup, you have a marker for thyroid. It's TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. In most cases, if that's in the Western style range, which is usually typically wider than our ranges, so functional health is more narrow because we're trying to optimize. So if the TSH in their range is in their broad range is in there, they don't search for reverse T3 or free T4 or any of those other markers that could really indicate if you have thyroid concerns. And that's where a full thyroid panel I would recommend getting, which your doctor does have access to those types of tests. But I just mean, if that one marker is still in range, they're not going to go and order this other test for you. And I think it's really needed because it doesn't really give you a full picture at all on your thyroid.
Sure. And you keep mentioning the gut, and I want to impress upon our viewers how important the gut is. And we don't have to talk about this at all, but I've also heard that the gut has its own brain, but it also has its own consciousness. And that's a conversation for another day. But I want to impress upon the importance of our gut and the importance of what we put in and on our body, because it's all going to end up in that area eventually, right?
Yeah. So I think if we consider the foods that we're eating, are they organic foods? Are they grass-fed and grass-finished if you're eating animal meats? What is that quality that you're intaking? Because it's the quality that you're going to get out, right? So I think that's the first thing to look at. And if we look at just our gut lining, there are many layers to our mucosal barrier of what it's called. So there are microvilli that are kind of on the outside, these little phalange type, little tiny things that can try to absorb the nutrients that they're feeding it. So I think as we age, as the environment that we live in really changes, whether it's the air quality, the water quality, all of those things that our body has to deal with on a daily basis over time. And from our poor decisions, if we're trying to eat out quickly with fast food, or eating these rancid types of oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, those types of things, it really breaks down those phalanges, if you call it, or those microvilli, to basically have like a blunted brush border, we call it. And so when that happens, the absorption is very poor. So even if you're eating good, it's very challenging for your body to actually use those nutrients, right? It just kind of passes through you. It doesn't really get absorbed like it should because you have this damaged lining. And I think every client that I run a food sensitivity test on, there's stuff that comes up that maybe they really didn't consider. So for example, like green pepper, chicken, sometimes beef, venison, different flavor enhancers, or even like lemon, or so there's oddball things that you would not think that would come up on here, but it's the state of what your gut is in currently. Because if, like I mentioned, when you have that blunted brush border in your barrier, your linings, because your intestines are kind of like, it has its own lining, right? It's separating it from your general circulation in the rest of your body. So when it becomes impaired, when your mucosal barrier becomes impaired, it's kind of like there's holes that develop. So like it does not a secure barrier anymore. So things are leaching out into your general circulation, into where all of, like, a lot of your immune cells are. Mm-hmm. And it kind of has this trigger warning of, oh my gosh, like there's invaders in here. This should not be happening. And so your body's in more of this stressed state because it's trying to fight off something that your mucosal barrier is just kind of lacking in, if that makes sense. So everyone that I work with has these types of food sensitivities. And you could look at the term of leaky gut, right? I'm sure a lot of us have heard that term by now. And it's kind of like your gut is leaking, and it can continue to manifest, and not just food sensitivities, but it can manifest into those bloating symptoms or migraines, or even joint pain, all of that stuff. Yeah.
And what's even crazier is I just realized my computer's not plugged in and my computer may die. So Dan, can we go to a commercial break earlier, please? And I apologize for this, but I also don't want my computer to just shut down.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Hello, everybody. If you knew what I just did to get my computer plugged in. And anyway, Falyn, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your patience. So let's get to the meat. Let's get to the good stuff. The first thing I want to get to is what you said, listening to smile. And then I want to get into the sonic stuff.
Okay, so Listening to Smile is a type of company that Ian Morris, the founder, owns, and he and I are partners. So I actually heard of Ian through a podcast, Paul Chek's podcast, and I was blown away by him as a person and by Listening to Smile and what they are doing for the world. So I ended up becoming an affiliate or a member with the company, and I used their music in my client sessions as a functional health practitioner. Yeah, so it was beautiful for my personal health and my mental well-being, as well as my clients when we're working on more of that emotional type of session. So I will tie the music in with somatic, with meditation, and I have seen beautiful benefits in how calm the nervous system can become, more in that parasympathetic, that relaxed state. And I think what's beautiful about Listening to Smile is that the music can be for anybody, really. So there are veterans groups that are working with the music. There's the Humane Society that's working with the music with abused animals. Yeah, and really the Listening to Smile in its large part really focuses on supporting and enhancing practitioners in what they're already doing. So whether it's you're a yoga instructor or a massage therapist or acupuncturist or any of that, and you are using music already, there is like a program, the affiliate program, that gives you the ability and the rights to commercially use this music legally. And it's what we like to call is frequency-minded music. That's a trademark term that Ian established. So that is a little bit about Listening to Smile. We can certainly go into like the sonic piece of that and what we've been up to.
Well, it sounds like there's 3 or 4 different modalities that you're incorporating here with the somatic, the meditation, the music, and then this sonic. Is sonic therapy separate from the smile music?
Nope, that would be where it's coming from. So sonic is really just like the sound.
Okay, so explain it. How does that help someone avoid sickness or recover sickness or maintain wellness?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, when we're looking at frequency-minded music, so let's just take, we're listening to regular music, whether that's our favorite band or the radio or whatever. There are specific frequencies that we hear from the music, and certainly like the vocals are another type of frequency that we're picking up. And when I say frequency, what I mean is hertz, HZ, hertz, right? So everything in our world has its own vibration, its own frequency, right? The food we eat has the more higher quality food, it's a better frequency, a more harmonizing frequency. So exactly. So when we look at music in that same way, how can we have a more harmonious frequency entering our body? Because I think with EMFs, with just different metals that we're being impacted by, like whether that's the chemtrails in the sky or kind of coming down, or whether that's the water
Our
quality.
appliances, right? Our appliances, our
Yes,
car, our car.
shampoo,
People don't
makeup.
think about that. Oh, right. Makeup. Sure.
Yes,
Everything.
yes.
Everything.
It all has a toxic load to it. So it's kind of a deharmonizing frequency. And I think what this music does beautifully is introduces more harmonizing frequencies. So there are frequencies that are planetary, there's organ based frequencies. So there's even a frequency for the liver, the heart, etc. So just say if you have issues with liver detoxification, or just impaired liver function, if we're introducing this beautiful frequency to support the liver, imagine how that can enhance and help your own function, right? Because when we eat good, we feel good. When we're introducing good frequency, it's beneficial to our health. It's the same type of concept. But I think, and Ian can certainly explain this so much better than what I can, but there are intentional changes with hertz in music in mainstream that is
Yes.
actually, yes, that is actually really impacting our well-being. It's stunting our cognitive function, our detoxification pathways. And this might sound woo-woo, but there are science information behind it of how frequencies can be shifted. Because right when we have something good, it can be another side of it as something bad. And so frequency can be used for bad. And, just like the EMFs, for example, so I think what listening to Smile is doing is really educating on what frequency is and how powerful it can be for our health. Also educating on kind of making sure you're aware of how, disharmonizing frequencies can be impacting you with maybe the music choices or with your food choices or etc. So, where was I going with that? For example, there's 528 hertz. That is really like the heart chakra. When there's 432, and I think the music that Ian creates, Ian plays about 28 different instruments. So he brings in all of these instruments. He has what he likes to call is enhanced binaural beats. So there's many layers and intentionality to the music that he's creating. And every single month, there's a new album that comes out. And so those are specific to the members and the affiliates that get to have those albums for personal use as well as commercial use in whatever they'd like to use that in, whether that's social media, in their
Wow.
whether that's on advertisements, them as practitioners, if they'd like to use it in session, doing live events. And we can certainly go into what we've been up to the last 2 months, but it's very versatile in its use, and it's extremely impactful because even those monthly albums that come out, they're in alignment with Vedic astrology. So the energies that are coming through, it's to help you use that energy in a very intentional way to get to a goal or to get to a more harmonizing body. So it is very interesting, and I'm honored to be just a closer part in the company.
I am excited for all of this because in the transformational arena now, there's a lot of transformational coaches out there. And what the common theme with all of it, with transformation, is here's where you are, but this is where you want to go. Yet you need to bridge the gap. You need to become the person to become this vision of yourself. And the new vision of yourself carries a new frequency. And I don't know. I know there's some Einstein quote that about frequency and solving problems, and you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it. Something
Yes.
to that effect. So let's unpack all this, you guys have a membership site. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. If
Okay.
you just go to listeningtosmile.com under the top of the tab, it'll direct you to the membership site.
Okay. What can they do on the site before becoming a member? Are there samplings? Is there education? What can they find there?
I think I would honestly direct people to go to YouTube. There is many testimonials on there. There's many mixes of tracks for you to get to experience the music, because as a member, it is a yearly investment. So there are 2 calls per month that we have with our members and affiliates, and there are from, believe now 12 different countries that we have members in. So Perth, Australia, there's Canada, different states in the US. And so we meet, and I think what's beautiful is that, there are different collaboration pieces that come from that, right? This person in New Mexico, as well as Perth, Australia, now they're doing a retreat together. So there's beautiful networking opportunities in that realm. But also we're talking about how you can use this music in your business currently, or how you can use it in your personal life. And so we go over those in the calls per month. And then when you sign up, I think what's beautiful is that you get these 2 albums with signing up, as well as the whatever month that we're on, you get that album as well. So you start out with 3 whole digital albums.
Oh, wow.
And every month you get emailed a new digital album to download. So you can download on your computer, your phone, and use it in that type of capacity. And I think the largest thing to know is that it gives you the right to use the music, because Listening to Smile owns 100% of that. It's not Spotify, it's not any of that. So if you are using it for commercial use, you are backed by us. So there are instances where, if you're using just a playlist on Spotify or something, you can actually get sued because it's not your music.
Of course. Of
right?
course.
So that is what this
That is
membership
so cool.
supports. Yeah.
So a person who just wants to use it personally just plays the music in the background. You don't really have to do anything. You just listen to it like you listen to YouTube or any other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can listen to YouTube. There are different albums that are on a site of Bandcamp. So there's a platform that's called bandcamp.com. And if you search Listening to Smile, there are several albums on there that you can purchase. And if you use the code Morningstar, you can get 40% off any of those albums. So there are things, there's actually I believe 3 or 4 new albums that Ian just recently sent out. But there is anxiety relief, there's pain relief, there's manifest magic, there's heart chakra, there's different array, even a pet therapy album. So it's just a really beautiful way for you to still have access if you're just looking to buy a couple albums rather than having that monthly membership. I will say that none of the albums that you get for being a member are on the Bandcamp, right? Those are exclusive to like the members. Yeah.
Sure. And I could even see how playing it in a doctor's office or at a cancer treatment center could calm people down and indirectly help heal them.
Yes, that is awesome that you just brought that up, because we had there was a mini health fair that we had a couple weeks ago in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and now we are in talks with the care center there for support. Basically, we're going to be having the music in the care center, like the cancer center, to see how that can support patients as well.
Wow. Frequency really is the quantum medicine that is, I would say, future medicine today. You know what I mean? I interviewed a man who does scalar light therapy. I don't know if you've heard of scalar light, but again, it's basically a frequency. And I know there's a lot of frequency devices out there. How does this compare to all the technology that's being developed This just sounds super easy. You don't need any special equipment. You just push play and you're getting it. So
Yeah.
what's your opinion on the efficacy of these other things that are coming out? Personal devices.
Yeah, I think you have to watch out for like if there's any sort of radiation coming off of those devices, right? So if we take in like those like this type of cord rather than just the earbuds, right? There that connect to Bluetooth. There's a large amount of EMFs that your brain is getting hit with. Like, say, if I hold my phone up to my head, it's like you have these Bluetooth earbuds, and I think a lot of people my age have them, and a lot younger. So it's almost like we're getting slapped in the face, if you will, with all of these frequencies. And if we have those in all day long, every day, it's really impacting us over time of just that stimulation. It's a very disharmonizing frequency. So I think that's one thing to consider. But I will say there are different variations of how you can listen to this music. So if you have earbuds in, or even over the ear
I have
headphones,
those.
yeah,
The Bose.
that's a really awesome way to experience the music, because it's like there's no distractions around. You're getting to hear the left and the right hemisphere of like the actual speaker, right?
Right.
Of what's coming through. But a different level, if you are listening to it on just your computer with no headphones in, like that is still beneficial, right? Even if you're making food or trying to go to sleep, like your subconscious is still picking up these beautiful frequencies. So I think what I would love to go into is like the other setup that we've been doing at these live events. We have two speakers that we have in the setup, and then we also have like a subwoofer like on the ground that really provides that bass tone, that vibration that people can
Yeah.
feel. Yeah, and I think that is really powerful. I know Ian loves to call the subwoofer. He said we should have sparkles on this. It should be gold, because it's almost like it's that piece that really helps people to feel like this is working, right? There are some bass heavier tracks, while others are more lighter, more ethereal, but the bass really shifts energy more in the lower chakras, and that is where a lot of our trauma and stagnant energy is stored. So we strategically create the playlist for those live events in person to not have bass heavy tracks all the whole time, right? But we're strategically putting those in there to help people shift that energy and to feel lighter and just to let go of anything that they need to, feel safe enough to let go of.
All right, we have another commercial break. However, I want to hear about where you're going to be next with these live events. Oh my gosh, how exciting. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. We're having a fabulous conversation, learning about sonic therapies and frequencies to help you avoid sickness but sustain wellness at the same time. Falyn has some live events that she's doing, and then she also has a great offer for all of you. So take it away, Falyn.
Awesome. And I think something that I want to mention, I know that we touched on a lot of topics today. So there is kind of the functional health side of what I do, but the incorporation of the music is really showing how health can be this multifaceted approach. And so when we're doing these live events, I'm adding in how food and rest and exercise and the somatic exercises can really enhance what the music is helping with, right? So these in-person events have been amazing. Ian and I we're calling it the Soul Mission Sonic Meditation Tour. So we started in Texas, and this was March 17th, I believe. And so we have done events in Clayton, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, several events in Pennsylvania. We've gone up to Beacon, Poughkeepsie, New York, Burlington, Vermont, and now we're back down into Pennsylvania for a little bit. But we're intending to go to Long Island, New York, as well as Lockport, New York.
Florida? You want to come to Florida?
That could be a couple months from now.
Maybe I can help you put an event together.
Yes, that would be amazing, actually. So we'll also be in Michigan. And then I would say second week of July, we're planning to drive through Oklahoma, Sedona, Arizona, there's Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we're going to be in LA for a couple weeks, and then we'll be up in San Francisco area. So we're planning to do events. Now it's kind of going nationwide instead of just up the East Coast, but we're going to be coming down through Texas again. So maybe we can hit Florida as well as we're coming back around. But really, these events, they are about 2.5 hours, and we are sharing education about frequency and how it can help your well-being. And then we're talking about, actually, we're doing this creative writing exercise. So that purpose is to help the rest of the event. And some people are like, I don't want to do this writing exercise. But after they do it, they're like, okay, I understand why I did this, right? It's almost like we're working to help you be in your heart, not be so judgmental of your creativity or maybe of blocks you might be having of like your mission in life or anything that you might be experiencing. So that is the purpose of the creative writing exercise, is to kind of get out of your own way and allow what needs to come through. So we have books and writing in materials as well. So after that, we'll shift into this visualization. We'll have an intention setting. I will share a particular somatic exercise to help ground ourselves, to be present and to feel safe in the space. And then I'll, in this whole time, we have like frequency music playing in the background. So during the writing exercise, it's more uplifting. And then we kind of continue to downshift. And so after the guided meditation that's shared by myself, like we will shift more into the sound bath for the rest of the evening. And it's just a lovely experience. We have gotten beautiful feedback, and it doesn't matter how big or small the group is. Everybody, it's almost like a divine timing for them to be here. We've had people that have cried, laughed, and so it's just been amazing. So we're excited to take this over to kind of the West Coast now.
That is so beautiful. And let me tell you, I've been having chills throughout our conversation, which for me is just truth, and why I believe even us meeting is a divine appointment, because all the things that you're talking about, what I'm thinking now is that I'm becoming more of a connector as opposed to the facilitator, and meeting amazing people like you and Ian and Hollis and all the people I've had on the show. Is I just want to connect people to this, because not everyone's going to resonate with you or with the other guests I've had on. So I feel like my job here is more to facilitate connection. And we're really built for connection, and you and Ian are bridging the gap through us not feeling connected to ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we only have a couple minutes left. What is your offer? I know you got something special for our viewers.
Yes, and I just want to say a huge gratitude to you for having us and just saying all that. I'm excited to see how these our relationship grows after this call. But the offer, there is a meditation album that I put out in partnership with Listening to Smile. So it's my voice with the music of Listening to Smile, and so for this doesn't expire either for your listeners. So if they go to Falyn Hunter Morningstar .bandcamp.com, there is an album up there, a digital album that they can get 20% off on if they use the code Taking Healthy Back. And so yes, so it does not expire. And one thing that is also offered, like if they do purchase that, it comes with another album. So the pain relief album from Listening to Smile, which has been hugely beneficial for a lot of people, because that's probably the best album, or the highest album that's been sold to date is the pain relief album, which it doesn't have to just be pain. It can be anxiety, it can be whatever. So they get basically 2 albums for the price of one. It's about $32, I believe. So it's a very great deal. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I am so excited about the possibilities. And Falyn, please, this is amazing what you guys are doing for humanity, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And thank you all for watching today, Taking Healthy Back with Maria, and we'll see you next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.
This has been Taking Healthy Back with your host, Maria. Tune in each week as Maria will empower you to put your wellness in your control, right here, Fridays, noon Eastern, on the Bold Brave TV network.